I was born in a small town, a place where people talked more than they should and cared more than they needed to. My parents named me Akim, which meant beautiful one in our language, and everyone in town said I lived up to the name. They said I was as beautiful as the first bloom of spring, and as I grew up, I realized that my looks caused more trouble than they were worth. Being an only child, my parents cherished me. We were not wealthy, but we were content. My mother would always tell me how lucky they were to have me, but I often wondered if I was lucky to have this beauty that brought more envy than admiration. The young girls in town never let me forget how different I was. They would talk behind my back, whispering things that were loud enough for me to hear. They envied my looks, my grace, and how the young men in town looked at me. My parents knew this, so they kept me close, not letting me join the girls' society where those my age would gather, share secrets, and prepare for the adult life ahead. In our town, it was customary for children born in the same year to form a group, and these groups would stay together throughout life. But I was different. I wasn't allowed to be a part of any of that. One day, I was on my way to the spring to fetch water when I ran into a group of 7 girls. They were the ones I would have grown up with, had my parents not kept me away. They seemed friendly, or at least they pretended to be. They told me they were planning a big play in the town and invited me to join. I looked at them, trying to gauge their sincerity, but all I could think about was the work waiting for me at home. I wish I could, I said, but my parents need me. We don't have much, and I have too many chores to do. I turned away and continued my walk, hoping they would leave me alone. But that evening, those same girls gathered and plotted against me. They couldn't stand that I had something they didn't, and they were determined to punish me for it. After hours of talking, one of them came up with an idea. They decided they would visit me every day, pretending to help with my chores until they gained my trust. Then they would find a way to harm me, to make sure I would never outshine them again. The days went by, and true to their word, the girls started visiting me daily. They would help me with the tasks I had to do, and for a while, it felt like maybe things were changing. Maybe they had finally accepted me. But my parents, wise as they were, saw through the act. They warned me again and again not to trust those girls, reminding me that jealousy was a powerful thing. As the end of the year approached, the new Yam Festival was announced. This was a big event, a time for celebration, dancing, and feasting. My parents were invited, and I wanted to go so badly. I knew that if I could join the festivities, maybe I would finally feel like I belonged. But my parents, still wary of the other girls, gave me extra work that day. They thought that if they kept me busy, I wouldn't have time to go to the festival, and I would stay safe. I didn't argue. I knew better than to disobey them. The day of the festival arrived, and as expected, the 7 girls came to my house. They asked me to come with them, but I showed them all the tasks I had to finish. I can't, I said, pointing to the water pots I needed to fill, the walls that needed polishing, and the weeds that had overtaken our yard. I have too much to do. But instead of leaving, the girls insisted on helping. They filled the water pots, polished the walls, and even pulled up the weeds around the house. In no time, all the work was done. I was amazed at how quickly they had finished everything. "Now you have no reason not to come," they said. Part of me still hesitated, but the temptation was too strong. I had always done what my parents asked, but just this once, I wanted to do something for myself. So I agreed to go with them. We set off for the festival, and as we walked, I started to feel a sense of excitement. Maybe this would be the start of something new. We had to cross a small river on our way to the town. It wasn't deep, just about 5 feet, but there was something about that river that I didn't know. There was a powerful juju spirit living in the water, and it had a rule. Anyone who crossed the river had to offer food on their way back. If they didn't, the spirit would drag them down into the water, and keep them there forever. The other girls knew this, but they didn't tell me. They knew I was unaware of the danger, and they saw it as their chance to get rid of me for good. We crossed the river without any issues, and continued to the festival. When we arrived, the people of the town were quick to notice me. I hadn't dressed up for the occasion, but even in my simple clothes, I outshone the others. The young men admired me openly, and I could feel the eyes of the 7 girls burning with jealousy. They tried to act like they didn't care, but I could tell that it was eating them up inside. The festival was everything I had hoped it would be. There was dancing, music, and food in abundance. But as the night went on, I realized I couldn't avoid my parents forever. When they finally spotted me, their faces were a mix of anger and disappointment. My mother approached me and told me to leave at once. She didn't raise her voice, but the look in her eyes was enough to make me obey. I told the girls I had to go, and they agreed to come with me. They said they needed to eat something first, so we sat down together. I noticed that each of them put aside a bit of food, hiding it in their clothes, but I didn't think much of it at the time. As we made our way back, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. When we reached the river, the girls took out the food they had saved and made small offerings to the water. I watched them, confused, and asked if they could share some of the food with me. But they refused, each one of them turning their back on me. I was left with nothing. I had no choice but to cross the river empty-handed. As soon as I stepped into the water, I felt something pull me down. It was as if the river itself had come alive, wrapping around my legs and dragging me under. I tried to scream, but the water filled my mouth, and in an instant, I was gone. The girls watched as I disappeared, their faces showing no remorse. They turned and walked away, leaving me to my fate. They thought their secret was safe, that no one had seen what they had done. But they were wrong.